Okay, everything is clean and on the table and taken apart and separated by each side. I've got the valve stacks off and have those separated so I can check those out and see what we have. So when I took the shims off of the shim stack off the valve in the fork, I used a little zip tie that I kind of stuck in the hole here, pushed everything off, and I actually measured everything, all the shims, and to try to determine how it's set up compared to stock. I sent the information to Factory Connection, but they really weren't interested in telling me much because that's all proprietary, and if they told me that there was only just a little bit they really do to a fork to valve it, and that wouldn't be a good move on their part. So I understand that, but I did get document where it is, so if I need to adjust something, I can have a starting point. So I'm going to put it back the way it is, and then you see what we have. They did tell me that it was probably a little bit softer. It was set up for motocross, but probably a little bit softer for motocross. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but maybe that'll work with the heavier springs that I've got. So what I'll do now is I'll push this back on, put some Loctite on it, and not tighten it too much, but tighten it just enough to hold it with a Loctite, because that's aluminum and that would be bad to break that. And this is the other one completed. I've got the Zeta aluminum piston in it to replace the plastic one that was broken. So should be virtually the same, but just aluminum instead of plastic. So should work good. Shouldn't break anyway. Okay, the forks are all resealed, put back together, new internal pistons, and they're hopefully ready to go. Okay, shock all disassembled and ready to go back together. I'm just going to go upstairs and get my calipers and measure all these shims and record and see what's there. I've also got to remove this piston ring, replace it with the new one. All right, well, I have my forks put back together, rebuilt. I've got my shock rebuilt. I've got my Racetech spring on it, and I have the front brakes, both the master cylinder and the caliper, rebuilt. Just if I had a frame, that would be nice, but my frame's being welded for the front tab. Also, that frame looks pretty bad. I wonder if I should get it powder coated. I'm back in the shop working on the bike. I got my frame back today, you can see here. But I got the tab welded in place. You can see Trip at S&M Cycle did a good job welding this. So what I'm doing is I need to grind this where it is turning at the correct angle. I measured my old forks and they were somewhere pretty close to 42 degrees both directions. The way this is right now, it's about 38 or so. And you can see I've got space here. If you remember, there was very little space here on my old forks and the CDI box. So I've got that much to work with, and I'll still be in the same place I was. So I think I should be able to get this to about 42 degrees, and I'll do this side. I've already started a little bit. You can see where I've started a little bit. So I'm gonna measure it again, see where I'm at, and get it to 42 degrees or as close as I can to the CDI box without crashing into it. And then I'll do the other side. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some marker on here. Okay, I'm going to use a little better marker on this. So since I need to square this up, I'm really only going to try to get it to about here, maybe ground off. So about halfway. Okay, so let's see how this fits. I ground that off about halfway and squared it up a little bit. Okay, I'm a bit better now. What I'll do now is just kind of hit it with a file. Try to get it as flat as I can. The grinder gets it, it's just too aggressive. I can't keep it straight, but I can do it better with a file. You've probably seen these videos online or information about this, but just a little more detail. You do have to replace your steel frame steering stem in the triple clamp. So essentially you need a press. I did take it down to the local shop and they popped this out for me real quickly. This just has a little clip at the bottom, and the clip is only there, it's just to stop. Whenever it's inserted, it comes to a stopping point. They pop this stem out and put the new stem in. Everything fits perfectly. It does. There's not very much difference at all in the two stems. This stem is just a little bit shorter. So if you were looking at this on the bike, this and bolted everything up, this nut would only go about halfway down to this point. So I don't know, it's probably this much shorter, so not that much, but just a little bit shorter. So it would have been really nice to powder coat this, but since I want to ride this weekend, I've tried to get the old touch-up paint off with some acetone and just hit it with the PJ1 color match for the YZs. I think it's pretty close, but this paint will just rub off. It's not, it's not gas resistant or anything like that, because that's how I got a lot of it off, was with when gas and things got on it, it kind of ran off. But anyway, I got my tab all shaped up and at the correct angles, like it was before. And so I'm gonna let this dry a couple of days. Today's Thursday. I did it last night, so hopefully by Saturday I can throw it all back together and ride it on Sunday. It's starting to go back together. I've got the frame painted, being real careful because it's not perfectly dry. It needs a couple more days to dry. But I've got the hard part done as far as not scratching it up. So I've got the triple clamps on. You can see my new stop. It's all ready to go. Got the motor in. Got to put the motor mounts in and other stuff, but it's getting there. Just got to get it together now. I have the engine in. I have the shock on. One thing that was an issue with the shock is I had to use my original steel frame 99 model bushing outer washers, I guess they are. They have little seals on them and go on the outside. The ones off the 2008 for the aluminum frame were just a little bit wider, and I couldn't get those in there, so I just popped those out and put my old ones in, and it fits fine. So that's just a note. If you're doing this, if you do replace the bearings, put the year model that your bike is in there. I've got the new Tusk oversized rotor. The other one was damaged through abuse of running the brakes after they were worn out. So I've got new screws, got a little blue Loctite on them, and we'll get this together. This thing is coming together now. It's Friday afternoon. Just finished up work, coming down. Just did a couple of things. I've got the forks on, the wheel on. Last night I had the engine in, the rear shock. I've got the rear wheel on. Getting the cables routed, all the electrical on. So getting there. So the next thing I'll do is work on the cable routing, get the wires in the right place, get my straps in my zip ties on where they need to go, get the handlebars on, and I want to get those decals on the guards and the forks before I get too much other things on it in the way. So maybe I'll do that in a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out and watching the video. Seems with all the content that I'm actually going to make 3 parts to it instead of 2. So hang out for the 3rd part. I'll have a little more information, and actually I'll lead into the next little project that I had, the new exhaust pipe. So if you notice, I've got a new FMF exhaust pipe on here, and it was a little bit of not really a planned thing, but something that happened when I wrote it. So I'll talk more about that.